What messages did you receive as a child around food? They may have been the very traditional ones like you should be grateful for the food you've got, children in Africa are starving, or you have to finish what's on your plate. Maybe it was if you don't eat your dinner, you can't have dessert. In this video, I will explore some of the many beliefs that we can have created through these messages around food as a child and how they continue to affect you as an adult. And we'll also look at ways of releasing these old, outdated beliefs so that you can do something different in the future. As a therapist, a lot of people come to me with beliefs that may have a basis in something that is real, and yet which aren't serving them in the present moment with what they want to achieve in their lives and how they want to feel about themselves. So let's have a look at some of these very common childhood messages and uncover some of the layers within them. For example, the message about children in Africa and finishing what's on your plate are clearly aimed at not wasting food. And yet the hidden message here is that you should ignore your hunger signals. So even if you know that you're full, don't waste the food. And yet that probably isn't serving you as an adult. Perhaps you have portions that are too big, you really don't want to eat them, and yet you feel this guilt that you should eat all the food on your plate. And that's really not helpful because you need to take care of you first. That is more important, really. And while you can change things so that, for example, you perhaps choose a smaller portion or don't put as much food on your plate in the first place, it also takes some awareness of what the problem is to do that. And far more important, if you do have any issues around eating or not being the weight that you want to be, is to really listen to your hunger signals, to pay attention to those. They do matter. Another common set of messages that we receive are ones around reward or punishment. If you don't eat your dinner, you can't have dessert. If you're good, you can have a treat. But really, is it healthy to be using food as either treat or punishment? No. You want to have a different kind of treat for yourself. You want to have a different way of feeling good about yourself. So releasing those kinds of beliefs can be very important to help you feel happy, feel joyful, and also eat what is good for you. And then there's the thorny question of what is good for you. The messages around food have changed a lot over the last 40 or 50 years, or even over the last 5 or 10 years. There's milk is good for you. Oh, actually, no, milk isn't good for you. Meat is murder. Well, actually, protein is very good. And plant-based food is better, and you're destroying the planet if you don't eat a vegan diet. Or maybe it's some other message that you get around keto or paleo. Fat is good, fat is bad, carbs are fuel, carbs are evil. There are so many messages around the ethics of food, and they also change over time, which makes it very confusing and also very difficult because we often take on board messages around food that were around when we were children, and those may no longer feel true now, and yet we still feel perhaps guilty if we don't pay attention to those messages we received at that time, even when one part of ourselves, the rational part, perhaps knows that those messages aren't true anymore, or they might be true in a different way, or they're counterbalanced by something else. So it becomes a real minefield, and recognizing what the messages are that you received, and then thinking about which ones you want to keep in your life now can be a very powerful exercise. Another very common set of messages are around, oh, don't eat that, you'll get fat, or wow, she can eat anything, just look at her. And these messages are partly about food, and they're also about body image, making it seem that it's important how you look. And that may be something that is holding you back or creating issues for you. The idea that your worth as a person depends on how you look excludes so many other factors that are so important. And it can also place an additional pressure on that, so that if you feel like you're failing in that, or if there is a part of you which in some way wants to be hidden, then that can be a reason for eating or a reason for going against those messages that you've received. We are complicated creatures, we humans. So the first part is always about understanding what the messages are that you have taken on board, and then considering, do those messages still serve you? And if not, what is it that you would like to believe or that you would like to put into practice so that we can actually make those changes? And some of the messages that we receive around food are not even messages sent in words. For example, the way that people eat at different times, in different situations and on different occasions. For example, many people have the popcorn equals movie equals treat, or the idea that it's normal to eat really fattening foods for a special occasion and consider that to be a good and sociable thing to do. And those are messages which may conflict with our more everyday messages around what foods are healthy or good or bad. And so it sets up a dissonance in ourselves. I shouldn't eat sugar, but when it's popcorn at a cinema, then I should eat it. It's confusing. Another message which many people receive as a child in the form of behaviours is if, for example, either the child by themselves or with siblings or even the whole family together sit in front of the TV while eating. And here the message is quite subtle, and it's about ignoring the food, ignoring the fact of eating, or certainly being non-mindful about what you're eating. There is so much evidence that when you eat in front of the TV, you will eat more. You won't be as aware of what you're eating, and you won't be as aware of any signals of hunger and satiety. And so this is teaching us to dissociate, to not pay attention to ourselves or to our food. In a similar vein, if a baby cries when there is an upset in the house, perhaps parents are arguing, and because the baby has started to cry, the parents break off their argument and one of the parents goes to feed the baby and everyone calms down, then this also sends a hidden message that by ignoring your hunger signals and eating that food, everyone around you calms down. This isn't just about try food as a solution to any problem, but rather saying food is the solution. If there's emotional upset, food is the solution. And as you can imagine, that's a very unhealthy belief to have established within yourself, and one that definitely could do with changing. So how do we go about changing these beliefs that you have created as a child because of these messages that you were given, either through words or through actions? Well, the first step is to actually become aware of what those beliefs are. And with me saying some of those, perhaps you thought, oh yes, that sounds familiar. In any case, my first suggestion would be to do some journaling, to try and dig into and really uncover those beliefs. So, for example, you could just finish sentences like fat is, or sweet foods are, protein is, sugary foods are, healthy food is. And you could also try, if you eat, you'll, or if you don't eat, you'll. And what about the general prompt? If I'm feeling emotional, I. So I really encourage you to take a few minutes to note those prompts down and your answers to them so that you can get a sense of where your particular triggers perhaps lie. And then let's talk about solutions or ways of changing these beliefs. Several of the techniques that I use can be very powerful in this regard. For example, you could use EFT tapping with something like, even though I have this belief about, and you say what the belief is, I can still choose to see how irrational that is. And I can start to let go of that belief. I can focus on other things that I know to be true about food. And I can start to make healthier and healthier food choices now. Another really great technique for changing beliefs is to use havening techniques or matrix. One of these where you apply psychosensory touch and then go back into perhaps a memory of one of those things that were said when you were a child or the experiences. For example, you could remember a birthday party perhaps where something was said or where you ate a lot of cake, whatever it might be. Or perhaps it's some other family celebration, or maybe just a message that you got very frequently at home as a child. Go back to a memory of when that thing was said and perhaps see how you could give yourself a different message. You can go into the memory, calm down that child who was perhaps upset at the time about what had been said or about what happened before, and then offer them a different message instead. Although obviously you can't change what really happened in the past, you can learn from it, and you can also shift and transform what comes up in your mind when that memory arises. Instead of it being, oh, that's what my parents always said, it might be, my parents said that and I know something different. And I'm talking there about a deep knowing, not just a, yeah, I think that's true, but something that you really feel to be true. And that is the power of using something like havening techniques or matrix reimprinting. You can also use havening in a somewhat different form around one of these memories. Instead of seeing what different message you could give to that child, you could simply connect with the emotion of that memory and then play brain games so that you can shift the emotional charge around that memory and then perhaps come to a very different feeling around it, a different sense of it, and a different insight around it. Hypnotic visualization is another great tool to apply here. Perhaps seeing yourself doing something differently in the future so that you can see how it would be as and when you have changed that belief. And by so doing, you draw yourself into that imagined future where your beliefs are different. Another technique that I find especially powerful for memories from childhood is to do something creative, like drawing or painting or creating something out of clay or any other creative act you like. As they say, a picture speaks 1,000 words, and especially for children who learnt things perhaps when they were pre-verbal or when words still didn't mean all that much to them, something that you can see or something that you can touch can be more powerful and more meaningful. You could create an image of what that memory was to you or what that belief was to you. And then you could also create something for how it could be different. This can be done almost as a visualization as well. For example, if your father used to growl at you at the dinner table, then perhaps you could transform that growling dog into a playful puppy and play ball with it and have the emotions around that feel quite different. A final really helpful solution in this regard is to do some reparenting. For example, this can be done with hypnosis, where you actually see your inner child and then offer your inner child some time, some love, and perhaps different messages. And that can be a beautiful thing to do for yourself, showing that you care about yourself both now and in the past, so that you can believe You deserve to have that caring, and you deserve to have better beliefs. You deserve to feel that you can make good choices, healthy choices, and feel good about them. In all of this, please give yourself time. You may have been carrying these beliefs around for a long time, years, even decades. And so it may take a little while to unpick them all and to shift and transform them. Keep journaling, keep applying these tools, and the changes will come. The deep-seated beliefs can be changed. Your brain can be rewired in fundamental ways, and that will change how you feel about food in the present. And in the meantime, if you would like some help to finally silence food noise, why not check out my free mini course, which contains 3 different meditations of the kind that I've been talking about now, tapping, havening, and a hypnotic visualization, so that you can see how effective these are, both straight away to help silence the food noise, and in the longer term to transform these childhood messages so that you can have healthier beliefs around food as an adult.